Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and pretty happy today. Having a good day. My Dexa scan went fantastic, so I'm going to discuss it with you guys. So let me put on my +5 out of weaponsmithing, work on skilling up my crafting a little bit, and let's talk about this. And normally I don't always make videos the same day that I upload them. This one, I'm going to upload this one the second I get it rendered. The reason is I was really happy with these results. A lot of people have been saying, Jason, why didn't you put up the last DEXA scanner results? Because I was really unhappy with them. Now, people were saying stupid stuff like, oh, he lost muscle and gained fat. That's almost biologically impossible while you're training. That was the stupidest theory ever. It's the fact that I lost fat and muscle, and I lost a hell of a lot more muscle and a hell of a lot less fat than I thought I should have. I adjusted a lot of things, and I redeemed myself. And in fact, this is actually better than I expected. Because on this one, and within the next few days, I'll get all the results up so that you guys will be able to see all 3 scans back to back from the company that did it, so that you guys can see the changes over time, the full printouts. I'll probably make a separate video just with all that data in it and the screenshots from all the data that they're going to send me. But I do have my paper printouts right now, and absolutely ecstatic, because I pulled an erector in my lower back and I haven't been able to do squat very heavy for just a little while. I'm only just now doing front squats with 275 this week for my work sets. I haven't really been deadlifting. I actually lost muscle in my legs, but I gained enough muscle in my torso to completely offset it. I retained my muscle tissue. I lost 15 pounds between DEXA scans of pure fat. And while that might not sound like a big deal, everyone out there who's dealt with this sort of stuff and who trains and who lifts understands the importance of that. It is extremely difficult for people who aren't novices to lose body fat, any significant amount of body fat, and keep all your muscle. You usually lose, like what we consider to be really good, is if you only lose 20% lean mass for every pound that you lose, that's actually pretty good. I exceeded that last time. I lost a lot more than 20%. It was something like 40% of my weight loss was muscle last time. I kept my muscle this time. Even though I lost muscle in my legs, and I want to say it was something like 2 pounds. I lost over 2 pounds of muscle in my legs because of not being able to train them as much just during the last month. But I gained over 2 pounds of muscle in my torso, and it really seemed to have offset it. So I ended up balancing out. So I went from 230 on the last DEXA down to 215 today. Now, some people are saying, weren't you lighter than that? I was lighter than that. I did get all the way down to 209, but I don't think it was 209 due to fat loss. Like I didn't regain body fat since then. I've regained intermuscular water. Because I also went on maintenance calories right after that for a little while, because I was still in a deficit at 209 while I was letting my injuries heal. I went back to maintenance calories, and surprisingly, I was up today. Like I'd been around 213. I stepped on the scale at 215 this morning. The DEXA put me at 215, but apparently it was enough lean tissue regain and muscle glycogen and everything else that it balanced me back out. So in other words, I lost 15 pounds of pure body fat. So I went from 230 down to 215 today, and I was, I believe, 17%, 17.0 on the body fat. So all these people who are saying silly stuff like, oh, why don't you ever under 20% body fat? Well, I've got a DEXA scan showing me it's 17.0. Before I commit to that, let me double check. I believe that's what she said I was at. I gotta find it on the printout. Change. That's for the total. What's my average? I have to find it in here somewhere. Where the heck is it? That one. Sorry guys, I'm having to dig through this stuff for the first time here. She went over with it in person, but yeah, I think it was right at 17%. So I'll take it. 215 at 17% body fat. We have over 2 weeks left for the year. What was the goal we had set originally? I was assuming I wasn't going to lose muscle tissue, right? Assuming I kept all of my muscle from the first DEXA scan at 239 at like 23.7% fat. The goal was to try to get to 215 at 15% body fat. Well, I've lost a little bit of muscle after the first scan. So a little bit of muscle did happen. A little bit of muscle loss did occur in the first 12 weeks of this. Well, on this next one, I retained all my muscle, lost all fat. So I'm sitting at 215 at 17% body fat. So the goal for this year was originally 215 at 15%. Well, we still have over 2 weeks left, so we'll see what I can do in the last couple weeks. But then I later changed it based upon the last scan to be 205 at 15% body fat. Well, I'm 10 pounds heavier than that because I didn't lose muscle this time. 10 pounds heavier, but I'm only 2% away from the body fat goal for the year. So all in all, that's been pretty good. It's been really good. I'm happy with that. Especially having stepped on the scale at 215. I was worried when I stepped on the scale at 215. I'm like, I'm going to be 19% body fat. No, it was 17. So I can live with that. Now, let's talk about what we did different. Technicians, because this person also does nutrition consulting, they have registered dietitian and stuff on staff. They had actually told me that as a strength athlete, me doing that cardio to lose weight was a bad idea. And it was reflected in my muscle loss. This time I did no cardio. I just did 15 pounds of fat loss without using cardio. Now, I'm not saying I'm not active. I walk my dog, but that's not cardio. I increased my lifting volume. I went from doing mostly singles to mostly 5-rep sets, multiple sets, right? So I do full body 3 days a week. I do a little bit of what almost conditioning work on off days, kind of greasing the groove type stuff with pull-ups or the press with lightweight for like sets of 8, things like that. But it's three days a week of full body, big compound movements doing sets of 5. For me, that's an increase in training volume. That increased training volume did what? Helped me retain my muscle. Doing more lifting instead of cardio caused me to lose more weight on about the same amount of food. I didn't even reduce my calories further. I increased my training volume. I lost 15 pounds during this phase, still eating 3,500 calories on most days. Some days I recently actually have had 3,000 on some days recently. Roughly 3,500 calories, all lifting, 15 pounds of fat loss in, I think, 13 weeks. So this was a 3-month period, so in about 13 weeks. So fat loss of just over a pound a week with complete muscle retention. I can't complain about that. That puts me definitely on track for my goals, but the thing is that the increased training volume worked. It actually worked. And again, people will laugh and say, but you don't do high volume training. Well, I'm not a big fan of ultra high volume training. I mean, we could argue about it in theory. I guess I could try some later during a further part of a cut to see what it does. But I think just adding more sets of things in the 4 to 8 rep range, that's usually where I kind of like to stay for general training. Peaking for powerlifting meets maximum strength, yeah, you want to go heavier. And I don't really think there's any real reason other than maybe face pulls or something, little fluff exercises, even do more than about 8 reps for the most part. I'm just not a fan. So for me, this is an increased training volume. Well, doing increased training volume while eating sufficient protein caused me to hold on to all my muscle tissue. And I think that's the interesting point we get to with fat loss, body composition, things like that. Training volume is relative oftentimes to what you've been doing, what you're acclimated to. If you increase your training volume, it tends to be anabolic. But that's relative to what you're doing. If you're like me and you normally do really heavy, fairly low volume training, and you go to moderate volume training with moderate reps like I did this time, it caused enough of an anabolic response that I was able to successfully lose more than a pound of fat per week. Now keep in mind, technically, I didn't cut for 3 weeks out of this. So realistically, this is only around 9 or 10 weeks of actual caloric deficit because I went on maintenance for just a little while letting my injuries heal. And the net result was, so in that case, you're looking at about 1.5 pounds of fat lost every week, full muscle retention. You can't beat that. That's perfect. It's perfect. Had I walked into this, my goal was if I had only lost like 2 pounds of muscle mass, I would have been thrilled. Well, I did lose 2 pounds of muscle in my lower body, but I gained it in my torso. So it does go to show the increased volume on all the pressing, the pull-ups, everything else caused me to gain muscle in my chest, my shoulders, my back. So all of that stuff grew. So I think what's going to be interesting now that I'm squatting again, I'm through that injury, I'm going to be curious if the increased lower body volume on the next part of my cut, this is going to be where it's going to be interesting. Am I going to gain leg muscle? Am I going to regain the leg muscle that I lost off muscle memory in a deficit? Well, if that happens and I can retain all the muscle in my upper body, we'll see some recomposition. So what's the goal next? 12% body fat. I think that's reasonable. I went down 5 full percent body fat this time, right? Down from 22 to 17. I'm hoping, cross my fingers, I'm hoping I can replicate that again before my next scan. So in another 3 months, we'll do another scan. And I'm hoping we can do the same thing. Let's see if we can drop another 15 pounds of fat while keeping my muscle tissue. It's a lofty goal to pull off twice in a row, but I feel like I've got a formula that works with my training and my nutrition, messing around with the way I'm doing the fasting, the way I'm doing my training. I think I've got something that's going to work here. Because again, these results, I'm thrilled with this. Extremely happy with this. The fact that I retained lean mass while losing 15 pounds, I'm really happy about. If I can do that again, because a lot of people have noticed, like, yeah, we do see a dramatic change. If I can do that again, another 15 pounds of fat while holding onto my muscle, I think it's going to make one hell of a difference. So let's see if I can pull that off moving forward. But I'll put up all this data for you guys later this weekend at some point. So I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.